What's going on? So today we're gonna rank over 90 trade jobs from S all the way to F. Now these rankings aren't personal, okay? So don't get mad at me if I rank your job low. I'm only ranking them off the data I collect. And if your job is ranked low, that doesn't mean it's a bad job. 99% of these jobs I'm ranking are necessary for society to function. So if your job is ranked low, then it's probably because it's a niche job, there's not a lot of work, or the pay is garbage. Those are the only reasons it's gonna be ranked low. So with that in mind, make sure you like, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe and let's get into the video. So first job we're looking at is going to be a pipe layer. So we'll put this at an A. And what pipe layers do is any kind of underground construction where they need to install water or waste lines, that's going to be a pipe layer. A tier because they make pretty good money, about $60,000 a year. Specialists can make $90,000 a year. It would be S tier, but the work can be a little dangerous because you're working on the side of the road a lot. It can be a little stressful on your body, but either way, it's in A tier, so that's already a pretty good job to get. Next, we got crane operator, and crane operator should be S tier, but I'm gonna put it at A tier, only because if something goes wrong on the crane, like your load falls off because it wasn't secured, or the wind takes it, or you have an improper load compared to crane where the crane can't handle it, and you extend too much, and your crane tips, you are responsible for that. You're gonna get in trouble. You could even face criminal penalties. But the money's good. You're making $70,000 to $100,000 a year, and you're chilling. You're in an AC cab all the time, playing real life claw machine. Crane operator, great career to get into. Next, we got concrete finishers. They're gonna be B tier, only because they're out in the elements all the time, and it can be a little bit physical work. As a concrete finisher, your job is to pour, level, and smooth out concrete. You have to do it outside, and not to mention, if it's raining, you can't do concrete work. That's why they're B tier, not A tier. The money, you're making about $55,000 a year, and specialists, again, $70,000, which ain't bad. Siding installer, we're gonna go D tier, only because they get paid on the lower end. Siding installers make about $45,000. The higher paid guys are about $50,000. So if you compare that to the other ones I've listed, it's definitely lower. There's not too much room for growth because you're just installing siding. There's not that many different types of siding. It's all very much the same type of work. Again, you're working outside, so you might not be able to work while it's raining or in the weather sometimes. That's why this gets a D tier. Bookbinder, I want to put it on F tier, but F tier is for the jobs that pretty much no longer exist, and there's like one guy who does it. I'll put this as D because the money's not great. It's about $40,000 a year. With most other jobs, you always have the opportunity to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. With bookbinder, you don't. Most people aren't paying to get a book repaired. They're paying to just buy a new book. There are people who make great livings off of it, but for most people, it's more of like a hobby job you do on the side. Deck builder, I'd say D tier, but more than siding installer, because deck builder, they make about $45,000, similar to siding installer. However, they're more in tune with a carpenter, where their job is to build all types of decks. You got to worry about how's the footing on the deck. You got to worry about the height of the deck, what kind of material you're using. I'm gonna actually put this in C tier. Now that I think about it, their job is more advanced than the other two. You might not have work all the time, but at least with the deck builder, you do have a better opportunity to grow because you're doing some type of carpentry, so you can always transfer over to that industry if need be. But deck builders goes into C for that reason. Now we got electrician commercial, straight up to S tier. Of course, everybody who's watching this video knows electrician, especially commercial, S tier. These are the top dogs. They get the most amount of money. You're looking at $80,000, $120,000 for an electrician who works in commercial, refineries, industrial. That's where you're making the money. You do require a good amount of training, about 4 to 5 years, through some kind of schooling program, but it's not that hard to learn, and it's really not that dangerous. It's dangerous if you're dumb, but every job is dangerous if you're dumb. They're always looking to grow. It's one of the more cleaner types of jobs, and it's one of the less physical demanding jobs. Glove maker, this is our first F. Glove maker. It's F because everything's automated now. Machines make gloves. Maybe there's like a few people who hand make gloves still, but 99% of the gloves you see are all machine made. Don't get into the trade because it's no longer a trade. Machinist CNC, we'll go A tier. above pipe layer. With a machinist, you're gonna be making about $60,000 to $70,000. Specialists make $80,000 to $90,000. And all the machinist does with CNC is they just program in the computer precise cuts to make on metal, plastic, wood. Most of the time it's metal. The only issue that with this job is if you're working in a shop environment, which every machinist is, but if the shop is known for doing a specific item, you're gonna just repetitively do the same thing over and over and over again. So it can get a little boring at times. But other than that, I mean, it's a great career to get into, machinist. Sign painter, D tier, right above bookbinder. Definitely not above siding installer. Sign painter, definitely a very niche type of job. The pay is not good. It's about $35,000 a year, $30,000 a year, if that. Usually in small towns, you'll see people paint on the windows, and that's a sign painter. It's just, like I said, it's a niche type of industry, and it's more of like a hobby type of job rather than an actual career. Weld inspector, oh, we got an S tier. Most weld inspectors start off as a welder. Once you get out of welding and become an inspector, you're making about $10,000 to $20,000 more than you would be as a typical welder. Weld inspectors make about $65,000. Good ones make $90,000. It's not that hard to learn, and you just have to have good attention to detail. I did welding inspector, and it was actually really fun. We did magnetic testing, we did ultrasonic testing, but most of the time it was just like penetrant testing. You just put the spray on it. They had other types of testing that I didn't get into. Either way, weld inspector, great career to get into, and it's super chill. There's absolutely zero physical demand on your body, and it's not that hard to become one. You just have to put in the hours. It's kind of like an internship where you just put in the hours, and you kind of have to know somebody to get into it. HVAC tech, we got another S tier. It's not better than weld inspector or electrician. You know what? I'm gonna actually put it above weld inspector. Everything tells me not to, because I'm very biased. I'm also biased towards HVAC. HVAC, great industry to get into. If you like freezers, HVAC. If you like AC, HVAC. HVAC guys work on chillers, heat pumps, anything that has to do with AC, cooling towers. HVAC guys are the guys you need to call. They make $60,000 to $80,000 a year. Specialists make over 100 grand. Easy, and it's not that stressful on your body. Sometimes you are working outside of the elements, and you do work with hazardous materials sometimes, like oil or refrigerant. It does require a lot of knowledge, and you're never gonna know everything. It's one of those jobs where you constantly learn over and over again, and it's constantly changing. You're gonna have to keep up with all the new tech and all the new stuff and all the new refrigerants they have over and over again. But it's definitely a really rewarding job to have, and it gives you the best opportunity to create your own business as an HVAC tech. Same with electrician. Next we got roofer. I'm gonna do B tier. Only because they make $55,000 a year, about. Higher earners make 60, 65. The work is physically demanding, as well as you're working outside on the roof all day, which can suck at times, especially on hot days. But it is a pretty good career to get into. There's always gonna be work for roofers, so that's definitely a good industry to get into, B tier. Sheet metal technicians, A tier. Probably I'll do above A tier. I'll do above pipe layers on A tier. Sheet metal guys work alongside HVAC techs all the time because they're the ones who install the ductwork for them. They don't make as much as HVAC, but they do make good money. They're making about $55,000. Better ones make $70,000. So it's still pretty good money. You're the one installing duct. So you got round duct, square duct, whatever. Those are gonna be sheet metal guys. That's what they do. It's a good industry to get into. Just make sure if you're a true tin knocker, make sure you wear earplugs, because a lot of guys go deaf because they're just hammering away on metal. Next we got electrician for residential. A tier, but it's one of the lower A tiers. It's almost B tier, but I'm gonna keep it A tier. Only because it's pretty easy and clean work. You don't get paid as much. Residential electrician is like $45,000 to $50,000, which is low. It's a good business to get into. It's a good industry to get into. It opens you up to all these opportunities that could come your way. The job growth is great. But yeah, definitely not physically demanding at all, and really not too dangerous. Again, not too dangerous if you know what you're doing. That's why A tier. Next we got riggers. I will do B, definitely B tier, but is it better than a roofer? Yeah, better than a roofer. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it here for now. Riggers make about $50,000 a year, and what riggers do is they just hoist things up. They work alongside crane operators. Usually they're in industrial plants or like shipyards. They're lifting heavy stuff, and it can be physically demanding. Granted, they have all these chains and everything that will lift for them, but a lot of the stuff is heavy, so they're carrying it around all the time. So B tier. Auto body painter. I'll put it here. Auto body painter, you're making about $45,000. Custom guys, you're making $80,000. You're painting all the time, so you got that hazard. It's a pretty good industry to get into. I think B tier is a good spot. Anytime someone damages your car and you have to get a piece replaced, the auto body painters are there to make it match. Broom maker, F tier, bump. Again, it's like one guy who does it. Everything got automated through machines. Casket maker, low D tier. I'm gonna put it above sign painter because more people die than needs signs painted. Casket makers make about $45,000 a year. Still on the low end compared to some of these other jobs. Casket makers, they're really not going anywhere because people are always gonna die and they're always gonna want caskets. Upholsterers, another one of these jobs that are kind of going out of business. Most people, instead of repairing furniture, they just buy it. It's a very niche market, moderate supply, low demand, so D tier. Diver, okay. This is gonna be A tier, below crane operator, above machinist. The only reason it's below crane operator is because being a diver, and this could be a diver for underwater welding, a diver for retrieval, artifact retrieval. Like this guy in the picture, he's cleaning off a side of a ship. He's grinding off it. A diver that goes to recover a corpse. That's what divers do. It's a very good job. It's a very high paying job. You're looking at about $70,000 a year, but it can be very dangerous and physically demanding. You're swimming. Of course, it's physically demanding. If you like water and you're not afraid to fish and you know what to look out for delta P so you don't get sucked in small crevices, then diving's for you. Cobbler. Cobbler is on par with like bookbinder, but it's a little bit better. It's a very niche market. The pay is low, it's about $35,000, $40,000. Most people don't get their shoes repaired, they just buy new ones. Why would you pay $60 to repair an $80 shoe when you could just buy a brand new one? Next we got asphalt worker, almost A tier actually. I think it's probably better than concrete workers, only because most of the time it's city or union workers and you're making good money. The data does show that asphalt workers for the most part make about $45,000, but they do have the potential to make $80,000, which is crazy. The only issue is asphalt, similar to concrete, can't really be done in the rain. I mean, maybe like light rain, but even concrete can be done in light rain. Very similar to concrete, except they pay a little bit more. Next, we got nuclear tech. That's probably number one. Nuclear tech, you're making $90,000, over $100,000. You work in nuclear facilities and you're taking care of, you're servicing and maintaining all of the equipment inside a nuclear facility. Very important job, very lucrative job, but definitely requires a lot more knowledge and schooling than the other ones. That's the job you want to do if you want to have the best type of trade job there is. That's the one. Core worker, I might have to put it low C, high D. I'll put it C for now, but mainly because it's very physically demanding. The pay is decent, kind of. It's like $50,000 a year. You're going upwards $60,000. The only problem is, like I said, it's physically demanding. And what core workers do is they're gonna be the ones extracting gravel, sand, any kind of minerals found inside our earth. Locksmith, this is definitely D tier. I'd say not as good as casket maker. Casket makers, they're gonna have work all the time. Locksmiths, they don't have work all the time. I hear this a lot whenever I'd lock myself out of my car. Locksmiths would always complain about lack of work. They don't get paid a lot of money. They're making about $45,000, $50,000 a year. Very niche, not a lot of room to grow. It's easy to learn, so that's good, but D tier. We got wind turbine tech. This is gonna be A tier. I'd say more than a diver, not as chill as a crane operator. They're making $60,000 to $80,000 wind turbine tech. So it is the higher paid ones. And all they do is just repair and maintain anything that goes wrong with the windmill. They're always working because there's always stuff that needs to be taken care of for windmills. It can be dangerous. I know they had that fire where the windmill caught on fire and the guys just stood on top and burned to death. It's a small accident that doesn't really happen. So it's really not that dangerous. Next, we got landscaper, high C. Landscaper, they don't make a lot of money. You're looking at $45,000 a year, $50,000 a year, maybe 55, 60 for more experienced guys, but they don't make that much money and it's physically demanding and you're out in the elements all the time. There is a lot of work for landscapers though, so you're gonna stay busy. Glazer, ooh man, this one's gonna go, where should I put this? Better than a pipe layer. Yeah, I'll put it right here, the A tier. A tier between sheet metal and pipe layer. And what Glazer does is any commercial buildings where you see glass, they're the ones who install the glass panels on the outside of the building. It can be dangerous at times only because you're on the edge of a building and there's no glass to protect you. You're looking straight down. So it can be a little bit hazardous. The glass can be heavy. They have machines that help them put it up, but still, it can be dangerous. Glaziers make good money. They're making about $60,000. I know the unions over here in California, they're paying $50 an hour, so you're looking at $100,000. A tier, definitely. It's just a little bit taxing on your body. Mason, B tier. Is it better than concrete finisher? You know what, it is. If I don't put it higher than asphalt and concrete finisher, I'm gonna get shit. Yeah, Mason, and what Masons do is they do brick and stone walls. Masons make about $50,000 a year. Higher paid ones, specialized guys make 75 plus. The demand is high, but the physical labor is a lot. So that's why it's not an A tier. Blacksmith, oh man. Blacksmithing is so cool, but it's more of a niche type of job. So it's gonna have to go C tier. It's not a lot of money because it's not in high demand, so the earning potential is very low. And it's very demanding work. No money, niche, demanding, C tier. Scaffolder, D tier. It's dangerous, very physically demanding, low pay. They're making about $35,000, $40,000 a year. D tier, simple. I can't even say anything else. Carpenter, this is actually the Honest Carpenter guy. That's what the picture is. If you look, he's actually a YouTuber. If you want to learn about carpentry or really anything else, he does a lot of cool stuff on his channel. Carpentry in general is probably going to be high B. More than a mason, but not A. Carpenters are making about $50,000 a year. Higher earners about $75,000. Carpenters are going to be the ones building houses or furniture, stuff like that. Woodworking type of deal. Not exactly woodworkers, but similar to it. And it's a very versatile trade. Demand can vary. Some carpenters complain about lack of work. It all depends on where you're at. Fence installer, C tier. Not as good as a deck builder. They're making about $40,000 a year, so it's definitely on the low end. They can get to about 55 plus, but that's still pretty low compared to some of the other trades. The only issue is it's not very good pay and the career growth is low. And it can be demanding and it's outside a lot, all the time. I don't know about fences being inside, unless it's like one of those chain link fences that go around like a warehouse. Diesel mechanic, I want to put it on A tier because a lot of diesel mechanics in the comments always say how they make a bunch of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I'm gonna have to put it on B tier below carpenter, only because the data doesn't really show that they make a lot of money. You're looking at about $50,000. Higher earners are about 75, so they're on par with carpenters, except I think it's harder work than a carpenter. And diesel mechanics, what they do is anything that runs on diesel, trucks, buses, heavy equipment, they're gonna be repairing those. Automotive tech is going to be B tier, below diesel mechanic because they don't make as much money. You're looking at $45,000 to about $70,000. So they're a little bit behind diesel mechanic. It's in demand and yeah, it can be easy to learn, but cars are always changing, so you got to keep learning new things. Instrument technician, A tier, 100%. Where an A tier? It might even be S tier. Yeah, I'll put S tier. So they make about $60,000 a year. Specialists go 90 plus, so that's great money. And they're gonna be the ones in like industrial plants, refineries, taking care of all the equipment, making sure everything is up to par, making sure all the instruments are reading proper flow, pressure, temperature. So their job is very important. That's why they make great money. It just requires a lot more technical skill and a lot more education. So that's why it's ranked below the other jobs. But still S tier, not very demanding and pays a lot and in high demand, so there you go. Drywall installer, you're looking at C tier. Definitely more than deck builder, not as much as a landscaper. Drywallers make about $40,000, $45,000 a year. Drywalls are gonna create the walls and ceilings inside your house. They are in high demand, so it's easy to get a job with drywallers, but it's gonna be physically demanding and not a lot of money. That's why they're ranked so low. If you need work, drywall and landscaper, because they're always looking for people and they're always working. It just won't be a lot of money. Marine mechanic, let's go B tier. They can make great money. They make around $50,000, specialist 75 plus. The only issue with marine mechanic, and marine mechanic is just someone who works on boats. They do maintenance repair on any type of boat. The only issue is they work on boats. That means they need to be near water. So they need to be along some kind of coast or near some kind of major lake. They have to be location specific. That's why they're not higher on the list, because I do think it's a good job. Iron worker, man, they're so important. They make $50,000 a year on average. They have the potential to make $80,000, $90,000 plus a year, which is great money. The only thing is it's very demanding on your body and it can be dangerous because you're climbing on top of stuff all the time. You're building. There's no scaffold. You don't get scaffold. You just kind of gotta hook up to where you're working. So it's one of the more dangerous industries, but it pays good money. So B tier. We got carpet installer or flooring installer. They're gonna be B tier as well. Oh, we're going in the second rank. Carpet installer, flooring installer, whatever, the same thing. So these guys are going to be installing any type of flooring you got. You got wood flooring, carpet, vinyl, tile, laminate, and they're always in demand. So there's a lot of work with them. but they don't get paid a lot. These guys make about $45,000, more specialty guys, $60,000. That's kind of a trend with all these jobs. Most of the jobs are about $45,000. Once you get into like more experienced guys, $60,000+. Aviation technician, hell yeah. I'll put it S tier. Aviation techs make $65,000. Specialists make $90,000+. So it's great money. The only thing is it's very technical and it has a high responsibility threshold, but it does have that earnings potential and the job prospects. Next, we have my favorite one, welder. Right below, S tier, of course, S tier. Even though welders on average make about $55,000, they do have the potential to make $90,000+. I don't have them higher because it's a hazardous type of job, but if you want to make great money, get into a refinery, get into the pipeline. Those are the industries where you make crazy amounts of money. Elevator mechanic, everybody always loves slobbing on elevator mechanic's knob. Yes, because it pays like $90,000 to 100+. But the only issue, and I'm gonna take it off of S tier and put it down to A tier high, because they don't always have work like that. It's like 50-50. 50% of the guys have crazy amounts of work and the other 50% don't work all the time. Yes, you make good money, but if you don't work all the time, you don't really make good money because you're not working. Still a good industry to get into, but sometimes it can be a little slow. Sign installer, D tier. All they do is install signs. Sign installer. Oh, wow, who'd have thought? Their pay is about $40,000 a year, so it's on the low end of pay, and they don't have consistent work. Low pay, inconsistent work leads to a low ranking. Glass blowers. Okay, this job is actually pretty legit. The only issue, it's a niche job. It pays $40,000, $60,000 for the more specialized guys, 60+, and there's not a lot of demand for it. Gunsmiths, pretty sick job. They're gonna be the ones repairing all the weapons, but it's C tier, unfortunately. Gunsmiths are making $50,000 a year. The more specialized guys, $70K+. This would be higher on the list, but it caters to a very niche type of group. There's a lot of demand within that group, but outside of that group as a whole, there's not a lot of demand for a gunsmith. If guns were available worldwide more readily, gunsmith would be probably one of the biggest industries, but it's not, so C tier for now. Insulator, I got a love-hate relationship with insulators because whenever I had to do my own insulation, it sucked, but they do deserve to be on B tier, but low B tier, low B tier. You almost got C tier, and that's because you guys make decent money, $55,000, and higher earners earn $75,000. You're working around fiberglass all the time. With the increase in energy efficiency, the demand for insulators has been increasing, so that's good. So if you want job growth, insulators are your type of career. Heavy equipments operator, bam, A tier. We at A tier. Let's put them above sheet metal tech. All right, so these guys make $60,000 a year. Higher earners, $85,000. These guys are the ones who are going to repair large machinery used in construction, refineries, and agriculture. These guys have an extremely high demand for the work. That's why they're A tier. They have very specialized skills, which make them very valuable. And for that, they're A tier. Pipe fitters, steam fitters, S tier. Not as good as a welder. So I did this as well because we did a lot of pipe work, and great career to get into. Huge demand, huge viability. Pipe fitters install any of your AC systems, anything that transports fluid, oil, gas, water, air. Pipe fitters are the guys who are going to do it. They cover such a wide range of topics in the industries. That's why they're S tier. They're always going to have work and they're always going to be in demand, and they pay good money. Pipe fitters make about $60,000 a year, and they can get up to like $90,000, $80,000 a year. Great job. Forestry tech, this is one for all of you nature lovers out here. I would put it B tier because it pays pretty decent money, $45,000 to $60,000. Pretty decent, but it requires you working in remote areas, which can be physically demanding, and you have to deal with environmental challenges. So it's gonna get C tier. Chimney sweep, D tier because it's another one of those niche jobs. Chimney sweep is extremely necessary because without a chimney sweep, you could potentially cause a fire, but there's no room for growth in that industry, unfortunately, because you're sweeping chimneys. What other types of job are you gonna do? You'll always have a job, but you'll always have the same job. And these guys make about $45,000 to $55,000 a year. Now we have fire sprinkler installers. They're probably gonna be B tier. They make about $50,000 a year. Higher earners are $75,000 a year. They're the ones who monitor, maintain, and install all of the fire suppression everywhere. Now you might be wondering, fire sprinkler, okay, he's installing pipe. Isn't that the pipe fitter's job? No, these guys are fire suppression. That's their main thing. Pipe fitters, steam fitters, boilermakers, they do not touch fire systems. This job is always gonna have a very strong need and strong demand due to fire suppression. So you're always gonna have work, and it's gonna be consistent work. Really not not dangerous work and really not that hard work. They get low A, high B just because of how much money they make and the ease of their work. Okay, we got cattle herder. It's D tier. Problem is, it's low pay. You're making about $40,000 to $50,000 a year, but it's such an important job because it provides food. The only issue is it's extremely demanding. The pay is not that great, and there's no job growth in it. You herd cattle. I'm gonna put it above a blacksmith, C tier. Oil rig workers. These guys definitely an A tier, right behind glazier. They would get higher, but they're so physically demanding and you have to be remote. Not a lot of oil rig workers get to go home at the end of the day. They work months on and then months off. Weeks on, weeks off. And this can be oil rigs in the ocean or oil rig on land. Pay is about $60,000. Higher up guys make $90,000. And that's just pay. Most of these jobs, all these jobs, if it's remote, you're getting per diem, which is an extra maybe $100, $200 a day extra. So you're looking at about another $700 to $1,400 a week extra, untaxed. Per diem, untaxed. If you're working months on a time, you're probably working overtime. Most of these guys work a lot of overtime, so your earning potential is even higher. You're working a lot, and it's hard work, but you're making a lot of money. Definitely A tier. Wallpaper installer, D tier somewhere. The problem is it's so niche. You make about $45,000, $55,000 a year. There's not a lot of wallpaper being put up nowadays. Wallpaper installer, niche, low demand, no money, D tier. Linemen, ooh, linemen. So linemen should be an S tier. The only reason they're not is because of the danger. You're dealing with insta-kill voltage. It's gonna fry you in a second. So great money. Linemen make $80,000 a year, 100K plus. It can be very dangerous. And plus you're working on roadways a lot. Watch out for the freaking traffic. There was this huge storm in Texas that happened. Linemen from around the country were swinging by to go help out Texas. Great work, but it can be dangerous and you're working in crazy environments. So A tier, not S tier because of the nature of the work. Next we got a millwright, B tier. Similar to marine mechanic because their pay is pretty good. They're making $60,000. Specialists make $80,000. So the pay is pretty good. The only issue is there's not as much of a demand as other industries. And what millwrights do, any kind of factories, they repair and maintain those machinery. Miner, oh my God, lower than a core worker. C tier. So miners make $55,000 a year and they can earn, more specialized guys, 85 plus, which is crazy amount of money. And what they do is they're gonna be underground, whereas core workers are in a huge bowl. Miners are doing pretty much the same thing as core workers, except underground. And they're going miles and miles underground. So the physical demand is worse. The hazards are way worse. The danger is worse. That's why they're lower than core workers, even though they actually make more money than core workers. Appliance repair tech, I'm gonna put low A tier. So they make good money. They make in $60,000 to $80,000 appliance repair techs. They're the ones who are gonna fix your washer, dryer, your fridge, any kind of appliances you have. They're the ones who are gonna repair it. The demand is high, but it is kind of a niche type of job. But every house has appliances and every appliance breaks down, especially now since they stopped making them to last for longer. Surveyor, we're gonna put surveyor at B tier. Where on B tier? I'm gonna put high up because it's a pretty simple job. Probably high B, really, because you're making $65,000 a year. Higher specialized guys are making $80,000. And what surveyors do is they're gonna be mapping out any kind of land. So they're definitely in demand. I'll put it actually A tier above pipe layer. Right next to diver, right next to machinist. Good money, good job growth. Okay, we got a hat maker. Again, D tier. So hat makers are on par with cobblers where people just buy new hats rather than getting them repaired. And high production machinery are just mass producing hats. It's kind of a business that's going away. There'll always be a need for it and a necessity for it, but it's very niche and it's not a lot of money. You're making $50,000, $40,000 a year. Next we got water well installer, C tier. Your pay is pretty decent, $50,000. Higher specialists go $70,000. Any kind of groundwater, you're gonna be drilling a well for people to use. The only issue is it's physically demanding and you gotta deal with all types of soil conditions or hazards that come along with drilling down into the ground. So for that and all the challenges it comes with, high C tier, low B tier. Gutter installer, definitely C tier, no, D tier. Gutter installer, they're making $45,000 to $55,000 a year. They're definitely a niche type of market. How often do your gutters get replaced? Obviously, new construction, you gotta get gutters put on, so that's where they get a lot of the work, but not a lot of people need gutter changeouts. Plumber, hell yeah. Plumber is going up there with pipe fitter and steam fitter. Plumbers, they make $60,000 a year. Specialists can go $80,000, $90,000 a year. By the way, this picture is Roger Wakefield. He's a YouTuber as well, just like the carpenter. Any kind of domestic water, wastewater, or vent piping you need, plumbers are going to be the ones to take care of you. They're always going to be in demand. And the only reason they're higher than welder or pipe fitter is because of the ability to work on any kind of industry. So you can go commercial or residential and still have lucrative work. Welder and pipe fitter, you can't really go residential with that. Welder, maybe some like fencing and stuff like that. Pipe fitter, yeah, you can install the piping in your house, but plumber can do all that too. Plumber has a lot more knowledge with codes and whatnot, but the earning potential is higher. So plumber, S tier. Solar panel installer next, which is going to be, I'll put it above machinist, because solar panels, obviously with everyone moving more towards an electric grid and saving electricity, solar panels are where it's going to be at. Every new construction home, at least in California, is required to have solar panels installed, so that's definitely a bunch of work for them. There's all these government grants to install solar panels, so the job growth is insane. You're making $55,000 a year. Higher ups make $75,000 a year. And who knows where the industry's going to go. If they get better, that means upgrades, which means more work. So we'll see in the future how much better solar panels get. And it's a growing industry. Commercial painter next. I'm going to go C tier. So commercial painters, you're looking at $45,000. Specialized guys, $60,000. And they're going to be doing any large scale commercial industrial buildings where they just mass paint. Even though these guys are very important, the job growth isn't there. You're going to be doing the same type of painting forever. There's not going to be any variables you have to deal with. The only hazard is paint, so you got to mask up and gown up and whatever. But it's pretty consistent work. I have to back up on my tier list because I'm filling it up too much. All right, shipwright, we're going to go B tier. Probably above marine mechanic, and shipwrights are going to be making $60,000 a year. Higher ups make $85,000 a year, crazy. And what shipwrights do is they just build ships. They're like carpenters, but for the water. So although this work is physically demanding, it's still a lucrative business to get into, and there's a high demand. Although it is location specific, otherwise it would be higher up on the list. A demolition worker, C tier, of course. Your pay is not going to be great. You're looking at $45,000, higher ups $65,000. All you do is just demolish buildings. It can be very dangerous and it can be very physically demanding. You're hauling away heavy duty stuff. There's not a lot of room for advancement. You're just destroying stuff. It's easy to destroy things. So that's why it gets C tier. Fabricator, I'm going to put it B tier, right below millwright. And fabricator is someone who is going to, he's kind of like a welder, but he doesn't do all the stuff that welders do. He more like designs and builds stuff in a shop. They don't make a lot of money. They're making $50,000 a year. Higher ups make $60,000 a year. So definitely below a welder and even a pipe fitter, but they're high demand and it requires a lot of skill. That's why it's B tier. Septic installer, got to be on par with the well water installer. They're making $50,000 a year. Higher ups make $65,000, and all they do is just dig a hole, throw a septic tank in there, hook it up to the house, good to go, done, simple. Not a lot of room for growth, but you can branch out to be a potential plumber or go into some kind of piping industry as a septic installer. A lot of plumbers already install septic, so it's kind of like a niche kind of business. So that's why it's so low. A lot of plumbers I know do septic installs. Next we got telecom worker, B tier. These guys make $50,000 a year. Specialist, $70,000 plus. And what a telecom worker does is install all the phone lines, and they can even do like fiber optics and stuff like that. So definitely in demand jobs, especially with all the new fiber optic being put everywhere. The demand is actually shooting up like crazy, with everybody pushing towards fiber optic. And with everything else moving digital, there's going to be actually more and more demand, because to transfer any kind of data, you need telecom. When you swipe a credit card, telecom. And this is actually a growing industry because fiber optic. So this might be something you should get into. With the rise of fiber optic, I think this could possibly be put into A tier. Honestly, the amount of money and the potential for job growth and the amount of work and the increase of demand on data, I don't know, I feel like this industry is going to blow up even more. Call me crazy, I'm putting it A tier. Right below oil rig. Tile setter, that's going to be C. Tile setters make $40,000 a year. Higher ups, $60,000 a year. Tile setters are going to be the ones installing all your ceramic, stone, tile, whatever. That's why they're called tile setters. And they can do floors, walls, countertops, bathrooms. So they can do a lot of stuff. They have steady work, and they do new builds and renovations. Floor installers, tile setters, both very similar. Pretty much the exact same on pay and job growth. Next we have geothermal technician. This guy definitely A tier. I'm gonna do high A tier. Geothermal technicians, they're making $65,000 a year. Higher ups, $85,000 a year. So what they do is install geothermal pumps and systems underground, which uses the Earth's heat to work. The Earth is a natural insulator of both hot and cold. Strong earning potential and strong job growth. And as we move towards more renewable energy, we could see more and more geothermal systems being set up. Next, we got cabinetry and woodworking, low B, high C, only because it's not as lucrative of a business. Carpenters take care of all the major stuff. Woodworkers and cabinet makers, they're building more small scale type of stuff, so there's not as much work. They make $45,000 a year, higher up $60,000 a year, which is a little less than carpenters make. And the overall job growth and demand is stable compared to some other industries. We got sound technician. This one's gonna be high up there, probably low A, high B, and they make $50,000 a year, $70,000 as a specialist. And all they're gonna do is manage and operate the sound and audio for events and equipment. Some people don't consider this blue collar, but it actually is because it's a skilled trade. This one has a pretty good earning potential. You just have to have a high knowledge on how to do this type of work. The only problem is the demand for this is driven by events and media. If you like music, if you like podcasts, if you wanna do movies, stuff like that, sound technician is your thing. If you work for your church, sound technician, there you go. All right, next we got sawmill worker, and I spelled sawmill with only one L, whoops, but whatever. So they are gonna be higher up D tier, but not as good as some of the others. Pay is not good, it's very demanding, and there's limited room for advancement. That's why it's D tier. Very necessary job, because we need sawmill workers, because we need all the things they provide. Without the sawmill workers, there would be no carpentry, there would be no cabinet makers. Sawmill, very important, but unfortunately it doesn't get the love it deserves. Taxidermist, it's crazy, but taxidermist is probably more on par with like casket maker. I don't understand why people want their pets taxidermied. I get why people want animals they shot or killed taxidermies, because it's like a trophy. It's kind of cool. Or like to preserve an animal. Why did you get your dog? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Taxidermists make about $35,000 to $50,000 a year, so not great. And the demand isn't really that high, so they get D. Next, we got vending machine repairers. They're gonna be high D, because they make $45,000 to $60,000 a year. Not bad. The only reason they're ranked D tier and not C tier is because they have such a niche type of job that not a lot of people could even have the opportunity to do. So they're D tier because of that. Next we have farrier. Farrier? Whatever. Someone who manages hooves, so horses, cows, whatever. I'm gonna say B tier, low B tier, because they make great money. $55,000 specialist, $80,000 plus. Holy cow. They're gonna be the ones trimming, shaping, filing all the animals' hooves. The money's good, but it's a niche job, so they get a low ranking. Cool job to get into, honestly. Next we have traffic light technician. These guys are gonna get definitely a B tier. I'll put them high B tier. So traffic techs, $55,000 a year, $75,000 specialists. They're gonna be taking care of all your traffic signals, and that's where the problem lies. They're taking care of traffic signals, which means cars are gonna be passing by. People are stupid when they drive, so it's a very dangerous job. And that's the only reason they're not A tier. Good business to get into, good money, good earning potential, steady job, but the danger is what makes it a B tier. Stagehand, awesome job, but it's gonna be a C tier. C tier only because they don't get paid that much. They're making about $45,000 to $55,000 a year. There's not a lot of job growth in there. You're just tearing down and setting up equipment for live events. That's what you do. Awesome job. You get to go to a bunch of events and work with all these artists. Next, we have an arborist. They're gonna be definitely B tier. These guys are making $55,000 a year, specialist $80,000, so they're high up there. The only thing is they're pretty dangerous as well. They're the ones who are chopping down trees or managing, taking care of trees and stuff like that. They're like tree fellers. Definitely a dangerous job, but it pays good money and it's pretty cool. You're outdoors, but physically demanding, that's for sure. It's getting kind of hard to see. We got bicycle repair. That one's gonna be low because it's niche. People are just buying new bikes, or they just buy new parts and repair it themselves. So bicycle repair, it's more of a niche job. You're making $45,000 to $55,000 a year, so not good pay. X-ray tech, NDT, very similar to weld inspectors. Weld inspectors are NDT as well, but they inspect welds. X-ray techs inspect structures. So X-ray techs make $65,000 and specialists go up to $90K plus. The only reason they're not more than a weld inspector is because they need a high knowledge of radiographic. The only reason they're not higher than a weld inspector is because they need a high knowledge of radiographic equipment and techniques. The skill ceiling is a little bit higher for those, so it's low on the ranking, but still great industry to get into. Huge demand for it. Next, we got home inspector, and this is actually sci-fi guy. He's all over social media, but home inspector gets B tier. You're making $60,000 a year, and specialist guy is $85K. Sci-fi guy, he's social media influencer, so he's making $1 million, but not everyone's gonna be that guy. And all home inspectors do is they just go around and evaluate the conditions of properties. These guys are gonna require a broad knowledge of everything that goes along with construction projects. It would be better to be someone who actually builds the homes, like a carpenter, but carpenters don't make as much money. Next, we have a hydroponic technician, and these guys are the ones who help plants grow, usually in like greenhouses and whatnot. They're the ones who monitor the plants. Pretty simple job. The pay is decent, $50,000 to $70,000. You do need a good amount of knowledge so you know how these plants operate and what they need in order to grow correctly. B tier, high B tier. Next, we got a watchmaker. C tier for sure, low C tier, around a blacksmith. Watchmakers, $45,000 to $55,000, lower end. It does take a lot of technical skills to do this, but the demand is very small. Again, people are just gonna buy a new watch instead of get it repaired. And a lot of watches are made in factories. The only difference between a watchmaker and the other cobbler, hat maker, whatnot, is that they're very, very expensive watches that cost a lot of money, and people will pay a lot of money to have one repaired rather than just buy a new one. That's the only reason they're higher up. Plumber we already got, I just have extras. Plumber we got, fabricator we got, diesel mechanic we got, concrete installer, concrete finisher, same stuff. So I'm not even gonna bother with that one. But here is our tier list. So S tier, which is go-to type of trades you wanna get into. They're gonna be the easiest, they're gonna be the most in demand, they're gonna be the highest paying. That's gonna be a nuclear technician, electrician for commercial, HVAC tech, instrument technician, weld inspector, x-ray technician, aviation technician, a plumber, welder, and pipe fitter, and steam fitter. Those are all your S tier jobs. So if you want to get in the industry, have great career, a lot of work, then those are the jobs to get into. A tier, we got lineman, geothermal technician, elevator mechanic, crane operator, wind turbine technician, diver, surveyor, solar panel installer, machinist for CNC, heavy equipment technician, sheet metal technician, glazier, oil rig worker, a telecommunications technician, appliance repair technician, pipe layer, and a residential electrician. Those are also very in demand, a little bit more dangerous at times. Some can be more dangerous than others, but definitely good careers to get into as well. Next, we got B, also great careers, little lower on the pay scale. We got traffic light technician, again, more dangerous. Sound technician, more of a niche type of job. Home inspector, hydroponic technician, arborist, fire sprinkler installer, carpenter, diesel mechanic, automotive technician, iron worker, mason, shipwright, marine mechanic, millwright, fabricator, asphalt worker, concrete finisher, rigger, auto body painter, floor installer, carpet installer, tile setter, roofer, cabinet woodworker, insulator, farrier. Those are going to be also great ones to get into, just probably lower pay or more demanding work. C tier, commercial painter, septic installer, well water installer, landscaper, demolition worker, gunsmith, forestry technician, drywall installer, deck builder, fence installer, core worker, miner, cattle herder, blacksmith, watchmaker, stagehand. All necessary jobs. Some are more dangerous, some are more niche, or some don't have as much earning potential as the others. D tier, vending machine repairer, scaffolder, siding installer, sawmill worker, gutter installer, casket maker, taxidermist, bicycle repair, chimney sweep, glass blower, locksmith, sign installer, wallpaper installer, upholsterer, sign painter, cobbler, hat maker, bookbinder. These are all extremely niche or extremely low pay type of job. The two that are jobs don't even bother getting into, glove maker and broom maker. If you think that my list is garbage and you put things in a different tier, let me know in the comments down below. I will definitely read them. And if you think I missed a job, let me know. If your career wasn't on here, let me know in the comments what it was. Remember to make sure to subscribe. Again, if your job is ranked low, that's not because it sucks. You doing your job is actually very important, especially for society, no matter the ranking I gave it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.